are here to witness the creation and to abet it. We are here to notice each thing so each thing gets noticed. Together, we notice not only each mountain and each stone on the beach, but especially we notice the beautiful faces, complex natures of each other. We are here to bring consciousness, the beauty and power that are around us, to praise the people who are here with us. We witness our generation, our times. We watch the weather. Otherwise, creation would play to an empty house. Thus ends the reading. You're invited to light your chalices at home while Megan shares a chalice lighting words.
The members and friends of Unitarian Church of Hinsdale promise each other to listen and learn together with compassion, curiosity, and an open mind. Stay engaged and participate to create a warm, welcoming, and financially healthy church community. Work together and beyond our walls to address social and environmental challenges and support our church and its mission with time, talent, and treasure.
Thanks, Megan. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to a virtual service of the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale. My name is Karen Mooney. My pronouns are she, hers. Each of us brings many different lenses and identities to the world. All of yours are welcome here to share in our commitment to uphold the values, to respect, worth, and dignity of each and every person. I welcome you today to a blustery, snowy outside. For many of you, at least if you're calling in from the Midwest, we had a little bit of a snowstorm last night. Please be safe on the roads. If you are here for the first time, a special welcome. And no matter if this is your first time on it with us or multiple times, I hope that you'll join us after the service for a Zoom coffee hour. Your Board of Trustees has advised staying virtual at least until the end of January. It's looking like we may have turned the COVID on the current surge, but we're going to continue watching your inbox and check our websites to stay up on the latest developments for the church. I'd like to say thank you so much to Megan Griffin for being our worship associate, also to Jamie Passman, our music coordinator, and our ongoing gratitude to Alex Dvorak and Jean Schaefer, who are our technical wizards. I feel like we should get you guys capes or something like that. Especially today when getting in was a little bit more challenging than usual. I'm glad to be in the room with all of you. This week, meditation, wise elders, and nonfiction book club are all meeting on Tuesday. And the choir hopes to gather via Zoom on Wednesday evening to check in and enjoy each other's company, even as we wait to be able to sing together again. There are lots and lots of other things going on around church. Make sure that you read your weekly emails or watch out for the Touchstone, our monthly newsletter, which will be out sometime this week. If you're new to church, you can sign up to receive these publications on our website. Fill in the contact form or just email the office and we'll get you signed up. We begin our time together this morning with open hearts and minds, listening for the wisdom of spirit, for the joy of connection, and for the comfort of a faith home that invites us to step into our whole world and our holy selves. Let our worship begin as we sing along with our own masked celebration singers. Here we have gathered. You'll see the video, and the words should be there as well.
One of the ways UUs gather inspiration and wisdom is by listening to the stories of important people throughout history. You might say that they are our heroes and heroines because they believe in something important and make the world a better place. Today's story is about a heroine by the name of Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson was the first woman to be hired by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. She spent many years writing books about microscopic plants and animals and about the great forces of the world's oceans. She wrote how everything in the oceans and on Earth is connected to everything else. It was a new way to think about the world. In 1957, Rachel was alerted to the use of DDT as an effective way of killing mosquitoes. Rachel's research led her to writing her most famous book, titled Silent Spring. In this book, she showed how pesticides killed useful insects along with harmful ones, leaving the land without bees to pollinate orchards, without spiders and dragonflies to eat mosquitoes. After some time, Rachel's book convinced Congress to pass new laws to protect the environment and started the movement of people caring about the earth. Even though Rachel Carson was not a UU, she will always be remembered for her courage in protecting the earth and for showing us how we are a part of the wonderful web of life. Her words urge us to look around, to listen closely, and to most of all, wonder.
As part of our service, we take a moment to offer our gratitude and celebrate an unsung hero in our congregation who offers their time and talent to create a world that is safe, just, and whole for every person. This Sunday, Marian Huddle-Wilson. Marian has been involved in many aspects of the church for a long time, but most recently, a leader of the racial equity team, she facilitated 3 beloved conversations classes over 3 years and has been holding monthly Brave Conversations which allow all our members and friends to talk through challenging aspects of anti-racism work in a supportive and courageous environment. We are grateful for Marian's kindness, wisdom, experience, and dedication. Remember to tell her thanks. Please think about the people you see doing good work all around the church, especially those who are working virtually now to make sure that we stay together. And to write Reverend Pam to nominate someone to be recognized in a gratitude moment. You are welcome now to type things or people that you are grateful for in the chat box. Please remember that this is live, so first names only. Out of a place of gratitude and fullness, we bring our gifts to this church. We work together here at church to make the world a better place. And now is the time when we share of our own blessings to help that good work go on. Our social justice recipient for January is UUANI, UU Advocacy Network of Illinois. If you missed that collection earlier this month, you can go to our website, www.hinsdaleunitarian.org, click on social justice, or send a check to the church with UUANI in the memo line. You can also go to UUANI's website, www.uuani.org. Right now, I invite you to say with me our offering words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world. Thank you so much for all you do for this church. Now, our first reading with Megan.
Why Church? By Reverend Anne Lamont. Why church? To remember that our bones are grown up from the dirt of this earth, that our breath is the gift of life breathing us into existence, that our hearts beat with the pulse and rhythm of an eternity we only vaguely recognize, that our voices make audible the songs of the universe. Why church? To remember that I am a unique and precious expression of the universe, that this reality in which I live and breathe both distracts and reveals, that my deep and truest self is the only thing worth searching out and finding, that in the offering of self I come most fully alive. Why church? To remember that one is not a whole number, that community gives us roots and wings, that strength comes from relationship and mutuality, that we know life in and through one another. Why church? To remember spirit, breathe, life, love. Why church? To remember. Thus ends the reading.
We enter now into a space of prayer and meditation. I invite you to settle into your chairs wherever you find yourself and take a deep breath in and out, paying attention to that. It's so seldom that I remember to do that throughout the day, to just breathe. We learn so much from nature. I want to tell you a story. A story about geodes. Have you ever seen a geode? It's this rock that looks pretty plain on the outside, rough, kind of bland beige oftentimes. Many of these rocks look like ground that's just been tubbled, but it's just a lump of dirt. But if you feel the weight of them, they feel just a little bit lighter. You might expect, part because they're hollow inside. These rocks are formed when something like a bubble of water gets trapped inside that will eventually become a rock. And the bubble of water develops into crystals, like quartz or amethyst. When I was younger, I was fascinated by these. I went looking for them wherever I could when I was hiking, these things with crystals inside. I didn't really know what to look for, though, until a geologist at a rock shop showed me the outside color, the size and shape that I was likely to find here in the Midwest. A good salesman, he actually showed me a book with loads of information. With this help, I found some stones I thought might be geodes. It has turned out that the only ones that I've ever found were in a shop. That has never stopped me from cracking open those potential rocks I find in my travels. Hope springs eternal. Even with perhaps hundreds of these failures, I look and look and look, because long ago, I realized that I loved the thought that there was something that looked utterly unremarkable, had something truly special inside, something only available if you took the time to move past that rough exterior, to expose what through time had become an amazing gem. I like these rocks. They're a reminder for me of getting the good stuff. Involves searching for places where the edges are rough. The outside being opened, awaiting to see something special on the inside. Into this one life. Many memories have been formed, many tasks are still beckoning. Into this one life, sorrow, regret, yet also joy and passion. Into this one life comes an awakening that we fully exist with one another, so we search to find and we remember. Those who must make choices, those in need of rest, those who grieve, those who bring peace, those who need shelter or care, those who give mercy, and those who are in pain. We remember Jerry Shipton, who is home recovering from hip surgery. We remember David Wright, who broke his ankle and is in rehab at the Pearl in Naperville. We remember Al Fisher, who died this week after a long and full life. We remember so much. Would you breathe with me? Would you breathe with me now as we remember? Into this one life comes the light of community, a gift to be found, a comfort to be held, a burden shared. If something has arisen for you in this morning, something breaking your heart open, where you're finding those shields, whether it be filled with lightness and joy or other things, we welcome to type your intention into the chat now. Again, please use first names only, as this service is live to the wider world. We'll make this space listening to the celebration singers singing this very familiar Spirit of Life.
Traveling Mercenaries, an excerpt by Anne Lamont. Sam is the only kid he knows who goes to church, who is made to go to church 2 or 3 times a month. He rarely wants to. I make him because I can. I outweigh him by nearly 75 pounds, but that is only part of it. The main reason is that I want to give him what I found in the world, which is to say a path and a little light to see by. Most of the people I know who have what I want, which is to say purpose, heart, balance, gratitude, joy, are people with a deep sense of spirituality. They are people in community who pray or practice their faith. They are Buddhists, Jews, Christians, people banding together to work on themselves and for human rights. They follow a brighter light than the glimmer of their own candle. They are part of something beautiful. Thus ends the reading.
My church. To be a Unitarian Universalist is to be a geologist, looking for the geodes that can be found in people and places and beliefs, geodes like gratitude and purpose, geodes of faith that allow us to move in this world with a sense of who we are, defined by what we believe, but mostly by what and how those beliefs call us to act within the world. In my life, I have always been attracted to vibrant communities of faith. They are places that challenged me, opened my heart, offered solace. They are the kinds of places Anne Lamont longs for Sam. Places of purpose, heart, balance, gratitude, and joy. I've always been attracted to vibrant communities of faith because of these geodes. But they've not always been UU communities. I am a geologist in constant search. I grew up in a UU home, so when I was in my 20s and I came out as a lesbian to my parents, my mother looked at me, smiled, and said, "Oh, that's nice, dear. Do you want chicken or pork for dinner?" On a cringeworthy note, she once told me that felt like it was the UU equivalent of a full house because she had a lesbian, evangelical, and a person of color as an in-law. Oh, gosh. We move forward in so many different ways. I guess that is what a liberal badge looked like in the 1980s. In contrast, though, when I told my folks that I was giving up an internship at the UU church to study with the Episcopalians, my parents wrote me a letter saying they still loved me, that I would still be welcome in their home. You see, to be a Christian with my atheist parents was to reject them in some way. It was an outward question of their understanding of how the world worked. Somehow, a drop of water had formed a geode that they did not think that they had placed. The next time I visited, after cleaning up from dinner and sweeping the floors, as my parents sat down, the real conversation began. My father asked, quite bluntly, "How, as a Christian, do you reconcile, Karen, the idea of original sin, colonialization, and all the destructive power meted out by homophobia, xenophobia, patriarchy, slavery?" Oh, we were in for a long conversation. We talked for hours that night and many more over the next 3 years. We spoke about fundamentalism and faith and beliefs. We spoke about love and if that was enough to believe in. We wrestled with how our choices form us, impact our world, how beliefs are sometimes harmful and destructive and oftentimes hopeful and always real. We looked for geodes in the midst of a mystery that is faith. In those conversations and many beyond, I found myself grappling with the foundations of my life, what I value, how those values are lived out, even in the structures of belief that I live within. I've been brought to this place of searching with the Episcopalians by grief. My partner had died. I was standing, talking to someone at the end of her bed when I heard a quiet, urgent voice say, "Karen, it's time." I turned to see my beloved with her head held erect, eyes wide open, looking towards something real enough that I actually looked there as well. This was somebody who had been asleep and falling into this place of death for days. had found her head scrunching away from that part of her neck that held something that was to be her demise. And she looked at something. I held her hand with the slightest of sighs. She passed. And then, only then did her eyes finally relax. I don't know what she saw. Maybe it was just neurons flashing. I've heard that in scientific journals. But I do believe she was looking at something. And maybe that's all that matters. In grief, I began wrestling with the words to hold on to that moment. It felt so important. I struggled to find a place to rest while I engaged the language that might transcribe what had happened there. I found in the Episcopal Church a place of ritual and spiritual practice that offered both comfort and solidity. There was something in the movement and even in the seasons of that church that held on to me when I was adrift. I loved the moments in worship that called me to remember my need for forgiveness, the celebrations of outreach and service, the acknowledgement that love is found in and of humanity. I found there, oddly, a God that could have been seen and focused on, even in death. I found Emmanuel, love among us.
O come, O wisdom from on high, who orders all things mightily. To us the path of knowledge show, and teach us in her ways to go. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we know that our unity is being restored. And they'll know Holy Spirit by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know Holy Spirit by our love. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. And together we'll spread the news that God rules this land. And they'll know Holy Spirit by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know Holy Spirit by our love. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. We will work with each other, we will work side by side. And to guard human dignity and raise human pride. And they'll know Holy Spirit by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know Holy Spirit by our love. Oh,
over time, though that space held me when I needed it in grief, I came to realize that many in the Episcopal Church, and probably in most churches that call themselves Christian, embrace both a ritual and a very specific path, a dogma I could not fully embrace. While the Episcopalians talked about love being the core of their faith, the way to that love was specific. The way was held within the writings of Paul, the apostles, and early church mothers and fathers, and even the corporate churches that lives on today. I am not a Christian. I do not believe that you can only find God, that word that is a language beyond which we can hold, three letters that are so confusing. I don't believe that you can only find that which is holy through Jesus, even though I find many of the things about Jesus really compelling. I would say, if nothing else, I am a Jesusist. One of the geodes I found in that time was that my faith begins with searching. I guess I should have realized that when my dad responded to my change by questions, but it begins with doubt. It begins in those moments when brought by grief or life, I risk cracking open the rough stones of my being in search of the gems within. I am, and always have been, a religious seeker, someone who is in search and wrestles with faith, but never completely accepts any one truth. By leaving these halls of Unitarian Universalism, I think I actually found out I am a Unitarian Universalist. What makes a Unitarian Universalist, besides being able to say those words 2 times really quickly, besides pledging or membership, it is an agreement to wrestle with our beliefs, to engage the world through curiosity, conversation, and doubt. Doubt is a peculiar taskmaster to engage because doubt takes this path that may never lead to an ultimate truth, but instead is to be on a constant journey of seeking many truths, some that may be articulated and some that are well beyond anything we can describe. From the Buddhist tradition, I've always loved this understanding of truths, deep, profound truths, as an answer that was found as if many hands pointed towards the moon. Truths would call us to acts in love. Truths that I thought was the way that everyone lived and understood their beliefs. In leaving the faith of my youth, I found out that I was wrong. Unitarian Universalism is the gift of defining faith by first asking why, or how, or what, rather than who. How do you relate to the people in the community? How do you commit to equity and justice? What is the larger whole that defines meaning? Why does change matter? And how does it work in our world? Why does it matter? Why does it matter what you believe? This is not the way many people in our faith approach their faith. This is not the way many people approach their faith, not for Unitarians, but for many people. Many look only at definable answers as the faith that is offered. And then it seems to me like they do some major gymnastics by bending their faith to support the beliefs that they have. The beauty of Unitarian Universalism is to ask the difficult question of what you believe and then how that belief impacts your actions in the world. At times I've heard you use act as if beliefs themselves are the enemies, but they are not. It is unexamined, unchangeable, fundamentalist beliefs that are harmful. And I'm talking about fundamentalism as a mode of believing, not a specific belief system. A mode of belief that does not allow for doubt, or change. Fundamentalist beliefs come in all stripes and patterns, literally. It is this lack of moral reflection and evolution of beliefs which makes them fundamentalist and harmful. In his book, The Demonic Turn, Lloyd Steffen says, absolutism is the central reason and the main course for religion becoming dangerous and demonic. And I would say that religion in that statement is not just the beliefs in God, but can be a belief in just about anything. And in that case, fundamentalism is a way to believe and is a way that could be utterly harmful. As UUs, we're not immune to this sort of fundamentalism, so we must continue to garner the courage to speak about our own beliefs within this community such that we are held to examining them. Belief. We don't talk much about it in UU congregation. Is it because we fear that dogma will seep through and we'll get stuck identifying a belief that is never changing creed? Or is it because we fear our beliefs will be judged, potentially even with pejorative terms like supernatural or lifeless or doctrinal? Do we fear this response and find ourselves so shut down by shame that we say nothing? How do we begin? As individuals, to identify and articulate the beliefs, we hold these geodes that define us. How do we live within that world? Professing our beliefs so that we can be held accountable to them. Declaring our beliefs so that they might offer us comfort. Affirming beliefs so that we each know what calls us to creating a just and peaceful world as an outgrowth of a generative life. I would say to you that the time is now. Into this place where understanding that our faith is a long, lifelong search for truth and meaning, we take courage to look for the geodes and let the finding of the gems be for a celebration. How do we begin? The same way any good geologist or scientist does, by sharing what we have found so that those findings can be helpful and what will be found next. Every day I try to live well. Oftentimes I fail. Sometimes I succeed. Sometimes I do something and I have no idea which side of the field it falls on. I search out religious communities where I am held to this and struggle with those answers. This is the gift from my parents and others that gave me through confronting my choices after my partner's death. So through the ensuing years and years of conversation, I went in search of geodes that held the gems of a breath time, and I found out what I believe, at least for these days. This is my faith. I believe in that which exists in all things, that which connects all things, and that which holds all things together. Perhaps that belief is best seen or understood at the smallest quantum level of our existence or at the multitude of a universe. I believe in the power of responsibility of personal and communal transformation towards love, the holy that we see and understand in different ways every day. I call that power spirit. I believe that we are each responsible for bending the arc of our world towards justice. This brings us into alignment with how we act and what we contribute. I call that ministry. And you all have ministries. I believe in the table, that sacred place where people gather to tell truths, be heard, and claim differences as a normal part of being human. Is that enough? Will these beliefs hold me when I grieve? Will they challenge me when I need to act and fear grips at my feet? Will they call me forward to work in a collective web of all being? I don't know. They have thus far. But it is only through speaking them out loud and wrestling them with other people in the actions that I do within the world that I will find out what still works and what needs to be, with great and utter honor, set aside. What do you believe? What do you believe today? If you don't know where the belief starts, look at how you're acting, and you can contrive what the belief behind that is. What do you believe? And how do those beliefs call you to live in the world? Let the conversation to seek out truths worthy of this ever-burgeoning need to doubt and to find begin. I look forward to seeing those rough stones cracked open and to wonder together at the amazing gems that are held inside. Amen, and blessed be.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world.
my church. Because here you will be asked to wrestle with your deepest truth, to breathe life into the gems you find, to go out and live what you believe. And then, my friends, to come back, knowing we hold a space to explore the answers you have found, and to ask the questions that reach into our doubt. Blessed be.